Welcome back, folks, to another episode of Better Call Sexton with me, your host, James Sexton. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, click the bell to get notified whenever we post, and check us out on all the other platforms. On the docket today, Charlie Kirk. A bet that Theo Von can't lose. Date them till you hate them. Is this a new dating strategy or a good day for my business? And as always, we take a look at your viewer submissions and throw you a Sexton-ism. Let's get after it. All right, before we get into the meat and potatoes of the usual Better Call Sexton fare, I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't make some comment about Charlie Kirk. I think a lot of people have been talking about this, and everybody has something to say about it. I will tell you, I was not a fan of Charlie's viewpoint on a lot of issues. I never had the occasion to meet him, although we traveled in some of the same circles. But I will say that I think it was a very, very sad day for America. And the reason why I say that is that there is nothing more uniquely American than the right to free speech, free from fear of violence. And the reality of this situation that I think every single person, left, right, center, wherever you're at, is that we need to find a path forward to stop fighting people and instead fight ideas. The marketplace of ideas is what America was built on. Thomas Jefferson, Alexander Hamilton agreed on abso-fucking-lutely nothing. They had nothing in common politically. All they wanted to do was pillory each other's plans. They held at their core completely different perceptions of what America should be. And yet, somehow, while vociferously fighting with each other in every forum possible and writing each other nasty letters about how stupid the other one was and trying to create all kinds of political machinery to upset the plans of the other, they were friends in real life. There's a whole archive of letters between the two of them, having nothing but disdain for each other's points of view and perspectives, and nothing but affection for each other as human beings. Folks, we are on the precipice right now. We are on the brink of becoming the most unimaginably un-American version of America that has ever existed. And I don't care what side of the political aisle you're on. If you claim to love America but can't stand Americans, then you can't claim to love America, because all America is a bunch of Americans, and we have a massive diversity of viewpoints. If you look at any coin that's somewhere in your house, if anybody uses something other than Apple Pay anymore, if you look at any coin, it says on it, e pluribus unum, from many, one. And that's the concept America was built on. But guys, the hard part's not the pluribus part. Okay, the many part, all you got to do is get a bunch of people with different perspectives and put them in a room, and you got the pluribus part. The hard part's the unum part. The hard part is coming together under that banner of diverse viewpoints, diametrically opposed positions, and saying, okay, but underneath all of that, there's some common ideal, some common dream, some common core belief that we share. You know, I spoke out about what I saw as a really tone-deaf answer from my progressive liberal friends, which again, I consider myself a progressive liberal in many, many ways in many of my political views. And I came out on social media and basically said, hey guys, now's not the time to post quotes about what this person said about gun control. Now's not the time to talk about what his political perspectives could lead to violence of this guy. Now is the time to mourn the fact that a 31-year-old father is dead because of things he said, things he thought. This isn't a person who called for violence. This wasn't a person who said we should attack people who have different viewpoints. This was a person who said we should attack them with speech. We should attack them with legislation. It was a very American perspective. Although I disagree with almost every perspective Charlie Kirk stood for, I really would defend to death his right to say those things, free from violence. And so I really implore every single person watching this and every single person out there, really, we need to take a good, long, hard look at the discourse that's happening here. One of the reasons why I created this show and this channel was to talk about how important it is to have a marketplace of ideas. Good ideas have nothing to fear of bad ideas. And look, the reality is if you go on college campuses and debate with underqualified college students that only know some talking points and they have no real substance or logic behind it, sure, you're going to kick their ass in that debate every single time. Put me in a mock trial class classroom where high school students are and I'm going to mop the floor with them. That's not what defines someone as a powerful debater. What defines them as a powerful debater is putting them against someone who's equally adept at rhetoric and logic and debate skill, and that they can stand their own on that. Now, Charlie created a marketplace that was incredibly prosperous and entertaining for people, where he would debate against people that were far less articulate and erudite than he was. And that's saying something, because Charlie Kirk wasn't really known for being terribly erudite. But what he was known for was something deeply American, and that is that he got up and had the fight of words and didn't threaten people with violence and didn't have real fear of violence. And now we see how far we've come in terms of a society where someone actually has to be afraid for their life based on the fact that they were bringing in a competing marketplace of ideas. So guys, listen, fight ideas, not people. We have to learn how to attack the speech that someone gives, not the person who's speaking those words. You know, someone dared in the comments to say, oh, would you defend people's right to speak if they're in the Klan or they're white supremacists? Yes, I absolutely would. And you know who else would? The American Civil Liberties Union. That this is the reality, folks, of America, is you have to be willing to defend to your death someone's right to say words that you would fight to your last breath against. Like, it's not easy to live in a marketplace of ideas. It's super easy to defend the free speech rights of people who agree with you. But that's the marketplace we've created, is we've created a marketplace where we're defending people's right to agree with us. And guys, that's nothing at all. It's the most un-American thing. It's a mirage. It's an echo chamber, and it's not worth anything. Good ideas have nothing to fear from bad ideas. But we all have something to fear if our free speech is creating an air of potential violence against us. Look, words aren't violence. Violence is violence. And we have to make a distinction between those two things. It may be uncomfortable, it may be unpleasant to listen to someone with a big microphone or a big platform saying things that you disagree with, saying things that shake to the core your very beliefs. But they have a right to say those things free from the threat of violence, just like you have the right to get up with your voice and tell that person why they're wrong and create your own platforms. There's been a democratization of information and the ability to spread that information. Every single one of you who disagreed with something Charlie Kirk said, get out there, get a microphone, and that's your invitation into the fight. And that's a fight worth having. If there's anything we can learn from the legacy of Charlie Kirk, it should be that people have a right to free speech, free from the threat of violence. There is nothing more un-American than stifling someone's free speech with violence or even the threat of violence. And everyone, left, right, or center, should be today. The best way you can carry forward the legacy of Charlie Kirk is to get up and speak your mind. Even if the things you have to say are the total opposite of anything Charlie Kirk believed in. This is a time for all of us to collectively mourn what has occurred here, a tragedy beyond measure that no one could possibly justify, that isn't villainous. But I'll tell you something. If somebody got up tomorrow and said, hey, I believe that this was right and that he deserved it, I defend that person's right to have that insane viewpoint if they want to, and I defend their right to be able to get up and say it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a turning point for America. No pun intended. This is a moment for all of us to just keep chugging on towards the abyss that we're heading towards, which is the most un-American abyss you can imagine. Or it's an opportunity for us to stop and change course and free up the marketplace of ideas, free from the threat of violence, and let good ideas compete with bad ideas and let the best idea win. I beg of every single one of you, if you have any love for America in your heart or any love for the causes that you support in your heart, get up, pick up a microphone, and start sharing your perspective. Put it in the comments. Make your own websites, whatever it is you have to do, but let your voice be heard. Because the chorus of voices, that's America, guys. That's what this experiment is. That's what this whole thing was built upon. And you know what? If you took a moment and actually talked to the people on the other side of your views, people who have divergent views from you, you will find common connection and humanity with them. I learned this more than anything on the jiu-jitsu mat, because I'm this tattooed progressive liberal guy, and I'm on the mat with law enforcement, right-wing, hardcore, and you know what? We have a common love, and that is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and spending time together doing struggle cuddles. And you know what I learned is that these are people that have lives and families and perspectives that are equally valid to my own, and experiences that are different than my own that inform their beliefs and their views. So I beg of you, ladies and gentlemen, the next time someone disagrees with you, rather than threaten them with violence, rather than claim that their words are violently harming you, engage them. Engage them about some aspect of themselves that you probably have in common with them. They're someone's mother, they're someone's father, they're someone's brother or sister just like you. That is an opportunity for you to find an entry point of connection with that person. And then the real battle starts, which is using that common connection and those common standards that you share to make a divergent point and to show them that they're wrong about what they have to think or say, that their perspective isn't the controlling perspective, and to share something different with them. Please, silencing alternate voices is the most un-American thing there is. So I beg of every single one of you that's watching this, take this as a moment, as an opportunity to realize that the marketplace of ideas is fundamental to America, and we owe it to ourselves and to each other and to this country and to the world to bring that back and make it the most American thing it can be. All right, let's get back to something way more frivolous. This is so heavy, I don't even know what to do with it.
So, Jim, first story we have today, Theo Von.
Oh, thank God. You know what? Thank God for Theo Von, because after something that heavy, Theo Von is exactly the amuse-bouche that we need. I love it.
So what we have here, fun story.
Von, by the way.
From a recent game, Vanderbilt quarterback promised Theo Von a date with his mom if they can beat South Carolina. I sent you a photo here of the mom.
I've seen the photo of the mom, and I have to tell you, this is a bet Theo Von can't lose. First of all, Vanderbilt won, so Theo Von won. But if Theo Von lost, Theo Von won. Like, that's the thing. Theo Von 2025, it's the year Theo Von can't lose. He gets in a bar scuffle with somebody, and he comes out looking cooler than anybody. Like, this is a guy who, but I have to tell you something. There are guys you could dare to date your mom, and then there are guys you don't want to make that dare to. I'm going to put Theo Von in the latter category. I would not dare Theo Von to date my mom, and she's been dead for 9 years. Because a guy do it. Like, I feel like if there's a guy who would date your mom, it's going to be Theo Von. And by the way, you've seen the mom. Mom's cute. Mom's cute on like any objective metric, not just like mom standards, like cute for a mom. There's like cute and then there's cute for. She's in the cute category and also the cute for a mom category. So Theo Von could not have lost this bet. He won the bet, but even if he'd lost the bet, he would have won the bet because he would have gone out with this guy's mom. And God knows what would happen. I would have insisted on a chaperone at least as one of the points in this bet. Like, this was a reckless bet. Again, I don't know if this guy's just like not the best son in the world or if he's really just trying to get his mom laid, in which case, Theo Von, good choice. You know what I mean? Sign that right up. Mad respect for Theo Von. Once again, stepping in shit and coming out with a fertilizer contract, which is Theo Von's brand. But congratulations on your win, Theo Von. Kind of wish Vanderbilt lost, not because I'm not a fan, but because I just want to see you date that guy's mom. Who knows? Maybe it'll be a cancellation, like a consolation prize, like he's got a sister or something like that. Stay tuned.
So up next, we have date them till you hate them. Have you heard about this?
I thought that's the story of every single case that's in my office. Like, they date them, and then they marry them, and then they eventually hate them, and then they're in my office.
Well, that's usually...
This is like more of a strategy? Like,
this
from the
is
beginning?
more we're actually specifically targeting it. So we have an article here from the New York Post. Date them till you hate them. Singles are dating until they're hating to make breakups easier. I sent you a little TikTok. Let's take a look
here we go.
at what kicked off this trend.
Get ready with me while I tell you how I ended my 4-year relationship.
Why do I have to watch you
totally
get ready?
After.
Oh.
The reason I was able to walk away from my 4-year relationship is because I dated him until I hated him. Now, I know some people are about to come for me and be like, you should just end it. It's not always that easy. Some people make it really hard for you to walk away from a relationship.
No, it's always that easy.
Or maybe you're really, really comfortable with them. You've been with them for forever, and it is hard to walk away sometimes. So, again, date them until you hate them.
Can I just pause for a second? Because I have to say, just as a meta message on this, I find these videos very disturbing only because the woman who is at the end of the video versus the woman who is at the beginning of it, it really shows you that makeup is just a totally unfair advantage. Like, you got every first date, Bill, I'm telling you right now, every first date you had, you should take them to a swimming pool. I'm telling you right now, because this is not cool. Like, I'm watching this and I'm like, what is she doing? She looks clownish. And then gradually she's going from like a 5 to like a 7. It's not fair. There's no male equivalent to this. I'm sorry, though. I got off track. Here we go.
So the first thing that you are going to do during this process is not get jealous anymore. They're doing things that hurt you. They know that they're hurting you. There's no reason to get jealous or be spiteful, start arguments anymore. Now what you're going to do is you're going to sit back. You are going to let them disrespect you. You're going to watch them disrespect you. And you are going to keep doing it until you no longer want to associate with them anymore.
Okay, I just got to throw a pause into this. I think if this woman had that much control over her emotional state, we wouldn't be watching her put on makeup and give this advice. Like, she would probably be in like a long-term committed relationship at this point, because it sounds like what she's saying is like just swallow as much garbage as possible from this person and let them treat you terribly until you don't like them anymore, which it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like, really what you're saying is just rather than see red flags and extrapolate from past behavior the likelihood of future behavior, let's just like hang on for the ride, waste a whole bunch of years. And then when you've decided, okay, I fully can't take anymore and my heart has now caught up with my brain and I'm going to now dislike this person, I think that's just a recipe for A, wasting a colossal amount of time, and B, making yourself extraordinarily bitter to the point where you would be making these videos.
Well, a lot of people are saying that it's a way to mitigate the heartbreak that someone feels dumping, being the dumper, I suppose, the heartbreak that you feel, and making it sort of easier. What do you say to that? Should people just accept the pain?
I mean, here's what I'll tell you. Like, it reminds me of the old joke, like, why do you keep hitting yourself in the head with a hammer? Because it feels so good when I stop. Like, yeah, sure. Like, you can gorge yourself on an unhealthy, unpleasant relationship until you're so nauseous that you no longer have any craving for it. Or you could be an adult and you could say, hey, I'm going to make relationship choices that are consistent with my morality, that are consistent with my preferences. I'm going to see the self that people present to me rather than a romanticized version of it. Look, I get it, man. When you see the world through rose-colored glasses, all the red flags just look like flags. But you need to stop and say, okay, listen, I'm all hopped up on this dopamine endorphin rush and I'm like super into this person. But wait a minute. Let me get my, male equivalent is post-nut clarity. Let me get myself some clarity here about how I actually see this person, and let me hear what they're actually saying instead of allowing my whole hormonal system to sort of override any logic that I have. And this is a male or female problem. But look, guys, like there's a lesson to be learned here, but it's not the one she's trying to teach you. I think that is a recipe for absolutely wasting your time. And again, this is advice that's easy to give and hard to take, because the advice she's giving you is, oh yeah, just like put up with this for a really, really long time until your brain catches up with how miserable you are. I think that is, if you had that kind of self-control, that you could let yourself put up with a really abusive, awful relationship, because she's describing an abusive, awful relationship. If you had the presence of mind that you could control yourself and just tolerate that, then, listen, you're just swallowing garbage all the time. Of course, you have a tremendous amount of self-control, but it's nothing to be proud of. So again, I think this is probably bad advice. Do I have to watch the rest of this? Because I'm dying to see what she looks like with the makeup on, but I feel like if I have to listen to the advice, it's just too much. So
what does Jim Sexton, America's divorce lawyer, how do you recommend going about a breakup?
I think you should go about a breakup the same way you go about firing somebody, which is be direct, be to the point, and be clear. I think it's the most important thing. And I think that you don't have to overly explain it. Clients all the time come to me about prenup conversations they're afraid to have, conversations about what they want in the divorce that they need to express to their soon-to-be former spouse. And they don't know how to have uncomfortable conversations. And gang, I get it, man. Like, uncomfortable conversations are just that. They're uncomfortable. But there's a difference between unsafe and uncomfortable. Look, you're going to make people uncomfortable sometimes if you're asserting your true self at any juncture in your life. So you have to get used to making other people occasionally uncomfortable by telling them the truth about what's going on with you. So I think when you're breaking up with somebody, you don't have to overly explain it. You don't have to shift the blame. You don't have to point out to them all the examples like you're trying to convince them, and that somehow at the end of it, they're going to go, you're absolutely right. We are not a good match for each other, but we'll always have Paris, and I'm really glad we had this opportunity to be together. You are kidding yourself if you think that's going to happen. There is no way to break up with someone and have them be super excited that you did it. It's a rejection. But what you have to say to them is simple and true, which is, listen, I don't feel about you the way that I need to feel about someone at the phase of the relationship that we're in. If this relationship really had a future, I think I would feel differently than I do. What's great about that is A, it's honest, and B, you can't argue with somebody's feelings. You feel how you feel. Maybe you wish you felt otherwise, but you feel how you feel. Like feelings, Ben Shapiro always says feelings aren't facts, but feelings are factual for you. Like your feelings are your feelings. Sheer power of will is not going to change your feelings, You have to be honest with yourself about how you feel. And if you say to your soon-to-be former partner, listen, I just don't feel the way that I think I should feel at this stage in a relationship. They can try to convince you, well, you should feel otherwise. Here's all the objective metrics that make me a really good partner for you. And you can just say to them, yeah, and all of that on paper is absolutely true. And yet I feel the way that I feel. And it would be unfair to you for me to continue this relationship with my feelings the way that they are. This is not a decision I'm making lightly. It was never my intention to hurt you. And to the extent that I've hurt you with this, I'm genuinely sorry for that. It's honest, it's straightforward, it's clear, it's unambiguous. That's how breakups should go. ChatGPT could probably give you a better insight into how to break up with somebody than all the advice you're going to get on TikTok about this. All right, now it's time for viewer submissions. Remember to go to sextonshow.com and send us your love mail, your hate mail, your conundrums, your relationship foibles, whatever it is you want to share with us, and we will comment on it if it is something that fits us. Here we go. Caught my partner cheating. Is that literally all that it says?
Yeah, I'm looking at that. Yeah, that's it. I'm looking at the docs. No, it just says I caught my partner cheating.
That sucks, man. Or woman. I'm really sorry that happened. It wasn't me. I don't want to sound like Shaggy when I say that, but it wasn't me. It definitely wasn't me. So you narrowed it down. There's 8 billion possibilities of people that it could be, and it wasn't you, and it wasn't me. It might have been Bill. I don't know, but I'm telling you, I don't want to know.
No comment.
It wasn't you. Okay, no comment. Okay, good. You're learning. So we do read all your submissions, including that one. I just don't know what I can possibly lend to that dialogue. I'm sorry.
Let's take a look at the one after it.
Okay, good. 30-year-old male in the process. Here's how twisted my brain is, by the way. I see 30M and I go 30 million because I'm so used to looking at financial spreadsheets of my clients. I'm like, all right, 30 million in bank account. No, 30M, 30-year-old male in the process of looking for a life partner. I have choice paralysis because I'm afraid of choosing the wrong partner. What do you recommend to look out for, and can you be certain? I have listened to a lot of your content, and from what you described, it seems like both you and your ex-wife were well-intentioned, level-headed people that seem to have all the tools to make a marriage work. I'm curious what both your professional and personal take on this is. My personal and professional take is the same in this, and really because my personal demeanor and my professional demeanor are somewhat the same, but my perspective is my perspective. I think that there's a bit of logic in coupling, and then there's a bit of magic in coupling, right? So love is a feeling and love is a verb. So to the extent that it's a feeling, find someone you have a connection with, physical connection, mental connection. You find them interesting. They're interested in you. There's a feeling between the two of you. I think that's the easy part. It's easy to find people that you feel some excitement towards, that you feel some connection or intimacy towards, some sexual chemistry with. That's easy. The hard part is finding someone who shares those things and then shares a whole combined set of values that go with that. So remember, if you're looking for a potential life partner or spouse, what you're looking for is a roommate, potentially a pet or child care partner, travel companion, a person who's going to be your financial partner. There's a whole list of things that are often disparate to some degree. And you really want to get to know where that person comes from. I think that a lot of my business model comes from people just falling in love super fast and not really going through the process of thinking about, hey, does this person and I have morals that align? Does this person and I have interests that align? Is there this Venn diagram, of the you, the me, and the we? And how big is that connection point of the we? What does that really look like? And am I going to lose the you or the me, the two things that we found so compelling about each other, if I let the we get too big? So ultimately, look, man, I hate to answer a question with a question, but what's important to you? Is family important to you? Is children important to you? Then you're going to want to find someone who shares that value. Is your career ambition important to you? You're going to want to find someone who shares and supports that dream. You want to find someone whose values, perspective, and goals are aligned with yours. The physical chemistry, the emotional chemistry, you're going to find that with a lot of people. You want to try to find someone where there's those connected entry points to those two things, and that's not always easy. But you have to ask yourself questions about what's really important to you and what do you really find value in. That's the best entry point to any good relationship. And look, I would encourage people not to do that so early in life that you have no idea what you really want or think. That was the mistake, if you want to call it a mistake, that I made getting married to someone I started dating when I was 19 years old. Who you are when you're 19 years old and who you are when you're 25 are completely different people. When you're 19, your prefrontal cortex isn't even developed yet fully. So you don't really know who you are, what you want necessarily, and how much radical change you're going to go through. And very often, two young people who get together at that early age, they're going to grow in divergent directions. Sometimes they're going to grow in totally aligned directions by the fact that they're together, but sometimes they're going to grow in distance and they're going to have less and less of the we in that Venn diagram. So I would just encourage everybody who's out there, wait a little bit. Wait to figure out who you are as best you can, and then go out there into the marketplace of other people and find someone who not only excites you and interests you and turns you on, but also aligns with your perspective, your morals, and your life goals. I think the sweet spot is probably in your late 20s, early 30s. I think that once you get past your 30s, people are pretty defined in their way of being. They're usually solidified in some kind of a career. Maybe they're living by themselves. Like they have some autonomy and agency that's kind of hard to give up once you pass a certain point. So I think in your 20s, your late 20s, you're still kind of malleable in terms of your preferences and your plans and your format of your life, but you also are old enough now that past the age of 22, you've got a little bit more of a defined sense of self, a little bit more developed of a prefrontal cortex. You're starting to see consequences of actions a little more. And you probably had a couple of at least starter relationships at that point where you can really say like, okay, I know, because look, we break in relationship and we heal in relationship. And I think that we learn a lot from every relationship that quote unquote fails. Like I think that most people learn a lot more from their exes than they're willing to give their exes credit for, because you don't want to say, oh yeah, I really got something positive out of that relationship. But even if the positive you got out of that relationship is learning what you don't want and what doesn't make you happy, that's a very valuable life lesson. So I really think you have to have a little bit of life experience, but not so much that you become very deeply set in your ways and it's hard for you to open your life up to another person. I'm not suggesting people can't find deep love and happiness in their 30s and 40s. Some of my friends who didn't get married until their 40s, very much like they found themselves ready to shift their life because they had a big chapter where they were a solo project and they were very established when they got married. But, again, I think a sweet spot, especially if you want to have kids, is to do it sometime in your mid to late 20s. So now it's time for Sexton-ism. Sexton-isms, for those of you who are new to the program, are things that I say so often to clients that my staff laughs and said they should be put into a book. So until the book comes out, you get this segment. So here's a Sexton-ism that I say at least 4 or 5 times a week. Uncomfortable facts are often the most helpful ones. So there's things that are hard to say out loud, things about ourselves, things about others that we don't want to admit. But uncomfortable facts are often the most useful and helpful ones. A friend of mine who's a therapist once said to me that the only really important question to ask in therapy is, what is it that you're afraid to feel? Carl Jung said, the thing you most need to see is in the place you most don't want to look or you least want to look. So the reality is uncomfortable facts often are the most helpful ones. They're the ones that really paint a portrait of who you are. They create a certain vulnerability in your ability to tell your own story that makes you incredibly credible. So I tell clients all the time, don't lie to your doctor, don't lie to your lawyer, and don't lie to yourself. Uncomfortable facts are often the most helpful ones. Hey, that'll do it for this episode of Better Call Sexton. Please remember to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all those good things. It really helps the channel grow. And thanks a lot for joining us. We'll look forward to seeing you again real soon. Take care.